This is R2D Tech and we're back with another video today, this time about the Surface Laptop Studio, so stay tuned. So this was kind of a surprise release from Microsoft. I think a lot of people are expecting another device like the Surface Books, and so this is kind of the successor to those devices, and this is the direction that Microsoft wants to take. Like the Surface Books, Microsoft have chosen to add a whole load of weird new features, and some of them are useful, some of them not so useful, and we're going to go through them. So for design, I think it looks a lot like an elevated MacBook. I think Microsoft have taken a lot of design inspiration from Apple here, and I say elevated because it's actually got a smaller base than the rest of the laptop. That part has vents on the sides for cooling, and I think it's a weird design. I'm not quite sure whether I like it or dislike it yet. One thing's for sure though is that it's not one of the thinnest laptops despite the illusion. It comes in at 1.8 centimeters, which is pretty thick. It's also not one of the lightest at 1.8 kilograms, so you're definitely going to feel this laptop in your backpack. Now, it almost wouldn't be a Surface device without a weird hinge system, and that's exactly what you're getting here. The display actually has two layers, and in the second layer there's a breakaway hinge in the middle. So you can actually have this device in three modes. You can have it in normal laptop mode, which everyone will be used to, a middle mode where you cover the keyboard with the display but the trackpad is still visible, or a tablet mode. It's basically the same as the HP Folio device if you ever saw that. Personally, I don't think this system would be all that useful to me, especially the middle mode where you just have access to the trackpad. I mean, that might be useful for some people if you're doing a presentation or watching a movie or something, but to me that middle mode seems like a bit of a gimmick. The other two modes, however, I imagine would be useful to a lot of people, whether you're an artist or some kind of content creator. An area where I think Microsoft has done really well is with the display. So you're getting a 14.4-inch display, it's a 120 Hz panel, and it has a 3:2 aspect ratio. So pretty good things all across the board. It's also a really nice display to look at. It has uniform bezels all around the display, and they are pretty thin as well, which is always nice to see. There are also curved corners, which I don't know, makes it feel like a premium device. Two other areas where Microsoft have done really well are the keyboard and trackpad. It kind of feels like Microsoft are really trying to compete with Apple here, because this device, from what I've heard, does have a really nice feeling keyboard and a really nice trackpad as well. And also, unlike on the previous Surface devices, it's no longer a piano key system. Instead, it's like the MacBook trackpads where you can click anywhere on the trackpad and it will register. So now I'm just going to run through the maxed out specs of this device. So for the processor, you're getting a quad-core 11th generation i7 processor. For graphics, up to an RTX 3050 Ti, memory 32 gigabytes, storage 1 terabyte SSD, and finally the battery is a 58 watt-hour battery. Two big surprises there. Firstly, the processor is probably not as powerful as people were expecting it to be, especially given this device is supposed to be competing with the new MacBook Pros, which have impressed everyone with their M1 processors. I was expecting at least a 6-core processor in a device that's supposed to be aimed at content creators. So that's definitely just a little bit disappointing. Now, secondly, the battery size. A 58 watt-hour battery is definitely not very big. And compared to, for example, the 15-inch MacBook Pros, which have 80 watt-hour batteries, this is definitely a little bit disappointing. Some reviewers are claiming they get as little as 5 hours of usage on a single charge, which isn't very much, considering this is supposed to be a laptop which you can take on the go and get work done. It definitely doesn't help that the display is a 120Hz panel and Windows 11 doesn't yet support a dynamic refresh rate, which is a bit of a shame. So let's talk about the software briefly. And this device is going to be running Windows 11 out of the box. We're not going to go too deep into Windows 11 in this review, but the short of it is that if you liked Windows 10, you're probably going to like Windows 11 because not that much has changed. And if you didn't like Windows 10, you're probably not going to like Windows 11 either. So let's move on to the ports, cameras, and accessories. Now for ports, like the MacBook Pros, Microsoft again has taken some design inspiration and you're not getting very many ports. You're getting 2 USB-C ports which do support Thunderbolt 4 and a Surface connector, and that's it. A little bit surprising for a device that's aimed at content creators, like the MacBook Pros, I guess. I think this is an especially weird choice from Microsoft, given all the criticism that Apple got for removing the ports on their laptops. But this has been a running theme through all these Surface devices. None of them really have a great port selection, which hopefully will change, but I don't think it will. So for the camera at the top of the display, like the Surface devices in general, it is pretty good quality. It's a 2 megapixel camera with 1080p resolution, which doesn't sound that impressive, but compared to all the other laptops out there, this definitely does shine. Also, in the age of online working, I think this is an especially useful feature. So for the accessories, Microsoft have released the new Surface Slim Pen, which is sold separately, I believe, but it comes with a range of new features. For example, now when you're writing, the pen will vibrate a little bit to give the feeling that you're writing on paper. Now, obviously, I haven't tested this, and from what I've heard from others, it doesn't really feel like you're writing on paper, but it does add a little bit to the experience, I guess. What's also nice is that under the lip at the front of the device, there are magnets underneath, so you can actually store the Slim Pen there when you're not using it. And from what I hear, the magnets are very strong, which means you're probably not going to lose it. So that's another nice feature. One weird design choice that Microsoft have made is that there isn't really a good speaker system on this device. You won't see any grills either side of the keyboard like on the MacBooks. Instead, it seems like Microsoft have included speakers that fire up through the keyboard, and from what I've heard again, they don't sound all that great. So that's also a bit of a shame and a bit weird considering this is again a laptop aimed at content creators. Maybe Microsoft expect you to use studio headphones when you're using this device. But yeah, a little bit weird. So let's talk about the price now. And as you've probably guessed, this device is not going to be cheap. The starting price is going to be $1,600, and for that you're getting a quad-core i5 processor, 16 gigs of RAM, a 256 gig SSD, and no dedicated graphics card. Then if you want to go all the way to the top of the range, you're going to be paying over $3,000. And for that, you're getting a quad-core i7 processor, 32 gigs of RAM, and a 1 terabyte SSD with an RTX 3050 Ti. So there is definitely a massive, massive premium on this device because you could definitely find those specs for a much, much cheaper price in another laptop. You are getting those extra features that Microsoft have included. In my opinion, however, those features definitely don't justify the price. Obviously, Microsoft are aiming this device at content creators, but they made a lot of design choices which I think will put a lot of people off. For example, the lack of ports, the small battery, and the lack of good speakers. Those three things seem like pretty vital features for any content creator on the go. So overall, I can't really recommend this device to anyone really. The one thing I can say is that it's nice to see a company showcase a device with new features like this that people haven't really seen before. So that is one positive. That's it from this video. If you loved it, please press the thumbs up button. And if you loved it, hit that subscribe button.